Dun, 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 dun. There's always an awkward like pause after I hit start streaming in OBS. It's a delay. But I am going to be, let's see, live now. We are live. And hello, folks. Slowly working their way in. So this is another live stream. I'm trying to get more used to this because a lot of the tech tubers have been getting into this. And what's up, everyone? Now you can see your chats. I just scrolled down though. I messed that up. Right there. Yep. Okay, so you can see your chats in the corner. That won't be there when I go full screen, but like this, it's not gonna be there. But most of the time we'll be staying here and full screen into Chrome, which also see your chats there. I have the chat up for this session because I want you guys to. Oh, I have to scroll down, don't I? Whoa, whoa, whoa! I'm way behind. There we go. So I want the chat up there because we're going to be walking through some parts. These are just parts that if I had the money to buy them and I needed the parts for a build or something like that, these are the parts that I would specifically recommend for certain builds. And I'll go through why I think that they're great. Most of these I've owned before or have been wanting to purchase for quite some time. So I want all of you to give your own feedback, talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to try to refer to the chat every now and then to kind of see what's going on with you guys. But really, what I want to do here is just show you some of the cool stuff that I've found in terms of well, fairly low prices. A lot of the stuff that you'll see is either on sale or I guess is something that I've been looking at for a long time and the price has been steadily dropping, or maybe it's an old product that has dropped in price recently because a new product has been released and the old product honestly isn't all that bad. So that's what we're going to go through here. And first thing I want to talk about, by the way, this isn't going to be a very long chat like the last one. This will be maybe 30 minutes, if that. So first up, a lot of you are asking for, okay, what GTX 1080 would I purchase if I purchased a GTX 1080? Right now, Walter White's sporting a 1070. Plenty for me. The 1080 would be overkill. But if I had to choose right now a GTX 1080 based on price, based on performance, looks, all that good stuff, this one right here would be the one that I would choose. Not only because it is under $700, I think that like you should never pay more than $700 for a GTX 1080 under most circumstances. There are a few special circumstances in which I guess you could, but this right here would be, I think, perfect for a 1080 build. So you're looking at $650, and this is a Gigabyte. Their what do they call it? The Gaming GV. I'm not gonna read all those numbers. But yeah, it's a GTX 1080, their G1 edition, and look at this. It's got a nice little back plate on it. Looking good. That's like a must. Okay, I'm not gonna buy a graphics card ever again that doesn't come with a back plate or something on the back. So that's there. That's nice, and it's got three of those little fans on top there. Basically, heat dissipation in this card is going to be excellent. This card does get fairly hot under load, but that's a consequence of having higher frequencies overall. So you want something to cool this puppy down, and the three fans on this are more than enough. The three fans on the ROG Strix edition that I have here for the 1070 are more than enough. Even under full load, I'm not hearing very much from the graphics card, and that's something I've steadily become more and more picky about. So back when I first started building PCs, it was always super loud. I just I'd turn on any game and it would just you start hearing like a leaf blower in your case. And so over time, I've just I guess become accustomed to quieter PCs. When you spend more money, you should expect to reap more benefits, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But at the same time, you're not going to be, I guess, listening to, like I said, a leaf blower in your PC. That's not something that you expect to hear in a $1,000 plus PC. So that's nice. Having three fans takes away from the added stress that two fans would have on a cooler of that size. So this would be my 1080 choice. Backplates look awesome. I agree. Cheapest, best case. I'm getting to that. Hello 577488. Don't worry about that. I'm getting there. Gaming i3-6100. Okay. All right, so I did go Apple. I went Apple for mobile devices. So that whole series, which I'm still working on, by the way, I'm going to upload an iPhone SE plus Apple Watch video soon. A lot of you guys were giving me crap about the Apple Watch, so I'm going to, I guess, give my very objective opinions on the Apple Watch, as well as the iPhone SE, which is blazing fast, by the way. But the whole point of converting to Apple was to convert to Apple for mobile devices. So that doesn't mean that I'm going to just switch my desktop to a Hackintosh or just sell it outright and buy an iMac. The point of switching to Apple was to showcase mobile devices, and that's where Apple really does have a big edge above a lot of other mobile, I guess, manufacturers out there. You know, there's Apple and then there's everyone else, or there's Apple, then there's Android, and that's kind of what it's been for quite a while now. And that's why I wanted to showcase Apple in terms of mobile devices, because that's where a lot of Apple sales are currently. So I'm kind of jumping all over the place here. Next thing, so this is like kind of like an experimental thing. If I ever went X99, what would I do? Because X99 is kind of like that next step, right? So Walter White is, I would say, probably the most I would ever spend on a Z170 platform with the i7-6700K, the GTX 1070. I got a 240 Captain EX cooler in there. I butchered that. It's Captain 240 EX from Deepcool. 16 gigs of RAM, that Asus Tough White PCB motherboard. That's pretty much it. If you spend any more than this on a Z170 platform, it's just, to me, you're just kind of hitting the ceiling. You don't want to spend any more than, I would say, about $1,300 on a Z170 platform altogether, including all your parts, including your case and whatnot. So I think the next step would be X99, obviously. And if I had to purchase X99 motherboard, this is the one I would purchase. And now the reason why I would purchase this one, now there are plenty of other X99 motherboards out there. Okay, plenty of very beautiful looking motherboards. Look at this one here from MSI. I was looking at this one earlier. This is like the this is the perfect motherboard for Walter White if I ever upgraded Walter White to an X99 platform. This right here is just, that is a beautiful board. It really is. But look what you're paying for it. $419. It's just not, it's not ideal. And in most cases, I mean, you're gonna get the same frame rates on this board as you would with the $160 board from Gigabyte. Now the one that I did show was, I completely lost it, was open box. It's basically this one, but it was a little cheaper because it's open box. I've purchased like 6 or 7 open box motherboards from Newegg, and for the most part, they look brand new. They've probably been used lightly or for a short amount of time. But if you can find an open box variant of the same board for $30-40 off, I say go for it. I haven't had a board yet that was missing something or that was DOA, just on arrival, dead on arrival. But I'd say take the chance and save a few bucks. Worst case, just return it, buy another one. Newegg's going to refund you for the one that you ordered that was open box. I say play the odds. It's worth it, saving the money. Maybe you can reinvest that money somewhere else. So that's what I would go with for X99 in terms of a motherboard. And then after that, you're going to be thinking about, okay, well, RAM. What kind? I'm skipping the CPU part because you could buy anything from a 5820K to a 6950X. I mean, that's up to you, how much money you want to spend. And I'm not about to dive into the differences there. But check this RAM out. Okay, now I didn't pick this because it looked unique, because yellow is not really my color at all. I don't think I'll ever build a yellow PC. But I do like Guile. I say Guile a lot. A lot of people, you guys have told me that means horny in Dutch and German, and I just kind of pronounce it like I see it. But that's what it is. Guile. This is, I usually buy super loose DDR4, but this is Evo 4, so this is a newer brand of, I guess, a newer lineup from Guile. But 16 gigs here. I recommend at least 16 gigs. I'd say for an X99 platform, 32 gigs is ideal. But 16 is like the bare minimum, I would say, for that. Now, you're only going to fill up 2 RAM slots with this, so maybe purchase 2 packs of these. Or if you can find a cheaper 32 gig pack, do that. But I'd say for $64 US dollars, that's a pretty good steal for 16 gigs of DDR4 there. And again, you're probably looking at the frequency here, 2400 megahertz. There's a trade-off. So when you increase the frequency of RAM, you also have to increase the CAS latency. It takes longer. Basically, it's delay in data transfer times. So there's kind of a trade-off there. When you lower frequency, it sounds like the RAM is not going to be as good. Honestly, you're not going to see much of a difference at all, and I've proven that in an older video, but you can check that out if you're interested in it. So on from that, someone said cheap Surprise, surprise. So an S340 from NZXT. Now, one of the reasons why this is on here, not because I'm using it, because there are plenty of other cases that I think look as good, if not better than this one. But this is only $70 right now. This is actually the cheapest variant of the NZXT S340 that you can currently buy. And usually this one's either not sold by Amazon Prime, not sold by Amazon themselves, or it's considerably more expensive than the black and blue or black and red variants. So $70, that's cheaper than all the others currently, and all 5 of them are being sold by Amazon. So if you have Amazon Prime, which I do recommend getting, especially if you're purchasing PC parts practically like every other week, you'll get your money's worth in shipping within like the first month or so. But that right there is a really good price. If I was building Walter White, again, this is where I would purchase it, and this is the exact case that I would purchase for it. Again, the NZXT S340 White. Now, what about ITX? And you guys have seen this one again too. But, okay, the Fractal Design Node 202. I really love this case. I hadn't built in it since any time before the i5 build video that you guys just saw a couple days ago. But now that I have built in it, I understand why so many people use this case. It's a beautiful case inside and out. It's very conservative looking, so it'll blend in with pretty much any furniture you have. It looks almost like a DVD player or an Xbox One console. It is considerably larger than something like a PS4. Keep that in mind. I do have a side-by-side comparison in the video. And things were fairly crammed inside. I mean, you got to expect that with an ITX case of this form factor here. You're not going to have much clearance in terms of CPU height, and on top of that, you're going to be stuck using an SFX power supply, which is it's a lot smaller than a full-on ATX power supply. So that's the other thing I wanted to get at. So this one's $133. This one's not sold by Amazon currently. It was, I think, 2 days ago. They had one more in stock. I almost bought it just to have, but it sold, I mean, overnight, which I'm not surprised about. So I would wait for this to show up again if you're interested in purchasing the Node 202. But the reason why it's 130-ish US dollars is because, and a few of you are asking this, I didn't mention this in the video because I figured it was just assumed if you clicked on the link. But this case comes with an integrated, it's an included SFX power supply. It's a 450 watt power supply. And now you're probably thinking to yourself, well, there's no way that's, $60, $70, right? Because this case is probably $70, $80 on its own, which it is if you want to purchase it without the power supply, which you can you can do that perfectly fine. It will be about $70 or $80. But the reason why I recommend purchasing one with the power supply included is because SFX power supplies are considerably more expensive than their ATX counterparts. So check this out. So Silverstone right here, this is probably one I would look at getting. So a Silverstone 450 watt, which is exactly the same as the one that's in the Node 202, 80 plus bronze, which I recommend as bare minimum for 80 plus rating. $72.86. Okay, now I'll get an equivalent 450 watt ATX power supply would cost you about $35. So you're literally paying almost double what you would for a full size power supply just to have it in a smaller form factor. And that's that. So if you just purchase this separately and then purchase the Node 202 separately, you'd be paying about a $15 to $20 premium. So it is nice that Fractal includes a tiny little discount, at least currently they are, a tiny little discount for purchasing both. So you'll have the power supply already included in the case, which is nice. You don't have to worry about that. It's a whole other step you can just skip over. Let's see what people are saying in the comments here. Do a comparison of i5 6402P. Come on. Different frequencies is really the only difference. They have different frequencies, and I recommend base clock overclocking all of them. I'll be doing that in a video that you'll probably see tonight. I overclocked the i3-6100. 80 plus bronze means these are just efficiency ratings. Honestly, I probably won't make a video about the 80 plus just because I'm not a full expert in that. I haven't done enough research yet to make a video, so I would have to do a lot of that research before I made the video. I just straight up don't know as much about it as I probably should in order to make a video about it. But I know that Linus has done a video about it. I mean, he goes into great detail about the efficiency curve. So basically every power supply has an efficiency curve, and the 80 plus, the rating there is how efficient your power supply is under any particular given load or power draw. And obviously the higher the rating, anywhere from bronze all the way up to platinum and titanium, the more efficient it is at a higher power draw. Is it worth upgrading to 5x480? Platinum is extremely yeah, platinum. I don't know if titanium or platinum is the highest. Which one's highest? Platinum or titanium? I have no idea. But you're getting it up some very expensive territory when you start looking into those kinds of power supplies. In fact, let's go ahead and check those out. So sorry about that. I'm gonna hit the microphone every now and then because this is just not an ideal setup right now. Let's do 80 plus platinum. Titanium. Okay, titanium's the highest. All right, cool. Thanks for that, folks. Like I said, so let's do titanium instead of platinum then. Titanium. All right, check this out. So if you want an 850 watt, fully modular, 80 plus titanium power supply, that's actually not that bad, to be honest. Like $200 that's not bad. Again, I wouldn't recommend that under 99% of circumstances, but let's see, if you work up to 1,000 watt there, you're paying almost $300. And a 1,600 watt, this monolith right here, $400. So yeah, that's not something I would personally go for. And even the 750 watt, I mean, literally, there's a $15 difference there between the 750 and 850. So yeah, that's it's just a very niche market right now. It's just they're too expensive, and I wouldn't consider it at this point. So let's talk. Let's go back to graphics cards for a second. This one just caught my eye because I know how expensive these cards usually are, and this one on Newegg was very cheap. It is very cheap. It's actually being sold by Newegg themselves, and that is the R9 Fury X. Now this only has 4 gigs of VRAM, but it's HBM memory. So that's that stackable 3D memory, so they can basically save space on the PCB. That's why all of the Fury, the Nano, all of those are very small and compact because they don't need a lot of space for that memory. And this one right here would play. You could play 1440p maxed out pretty much any title. You'd have to make a few compromises in some games. I wouldn't recommend it for most 4K. I mean, you could play 4K, you know, like LOL and Dota 2 and all of that. But something like GTA 5 and 4K, fairly high settings, you'd be scraping the 60 FPS boundary. Maybe not. I don't own one, so you know, all I've seen at this point are benchmarks. But the big story here is the price: $389 for an R9 Fury X. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that? I mean, really, only a few. How long has it been since the? I guess only a few months since the release of Pascal and the RX 460, 470, and 480. Only a few weeks by those standards. That the Fury X would have dropped to $389. That's a really good price. And no, I'm not saying that you should go out and buy one. I mean, there are consequences of going with an R9 Fury X. These things, like they drop power so much. They're pulling so much power. They recommend, I think, a 750 watt power supply for the R9 Fury X, whereas with a GTX 1070, I think the recommended 500 watts or 600 watts. I think it's 500 watts. But yeah, it's big difference in terms of power draw. So these things are very power hungry. But another thing to consider is the fact that this one is water cooled. So most cards aren't water cooled just by their nature. They're just air cooled, passively cooled, or actively cooled. And the fact that you're getting a pump and a radiator combo with this card, I would say justifies the price even more, because usually you're paying another $50-$60 for an all-in-one to be included with the card. So technically, if this was just an air-cooled card, let's just speak hypothetically here, if this was an air-cooled card, this price would be around $350. So obviously that's not what you're going to pay because this one is not air-cooled, but that's just something to consider. I thought that was interesting. Let's say R9 Fury, yeah, it really is. It's cheap. The R9 Fury, I saw there was one from Sapphire, I think it was. So yeah, so now that you said that, let's check that one out. Yeah, so this is the Fury. See the price in card. Oh wow, that's a really good price. Can you guys see that? Oh, you can't see it because it's in a separate box. But this one, I know you can't see it because it opens up a new window when I click see price in card. But this is $299 US. This R9 Fury right here, $300. My personal opinion, I recommend this card over an RX 480. Just straight up, because you're going to be paying about $260 for a decent RX 480 with a good cooler on it. And if you think about it, for another $50 at the most, you you can get an R9 Fury, which would completely change your gaming experience. So that's something that this I do recommend because it is around $300 currently. So if you want it, jump on it quick. And again, I'm not being like paid for any of this stuff for anything. I'm just showcasing things that I think are interesting or worth it. Yeah, I know the power consumption. I know it is bad. It, I mean, it's bad in comparison. So we're not looking at a 150 watt power draw. We're looking at closer to 300, 350. But still, you got to make some compromises. If you're willing to purchase a card like this, I expect that you have a power supply to back it up. If not, spend an extra 20, $30 on a better power supply. You won't regret going with an R9 Fury. You really won't. Would a 1070 make a difference on my editing rig? I have a 970 now. Lucas, I say that if you have a 970 right now and you can tell it's not cutting it, maybe you're talking about video editing, you're not going to notice much of a difference. I would say more for gaming would be the reason why you would upgrade that. So if you're interested in gaming and you can sell that 970 for about $150, then take that money, reinvest it in a 1070. I think that's worth it. And you won't have to worry about swapping power supplies or anything like that thanks to the efficiency of Pascal. Would you recommend the NZXT Kraken X61 or the CryoRig H5 in the NZXT? Well, okay, the H5. I know the CryoRig H7. I haven't looked at the H5 specifically. But if the H5 is an air cooler, I keep scrolling up here. I'm kind of messing you guys up. If the CryoRig H5 is an air cooler, it's just going to depend on how much money you want to spend, honestly. And yeah, you have aesthetics to worry about. So the X61 will look, in my opinion, a little better in an NZXT case than a CryoRig H5 or H7. But would you ever upgrade to hardline cooling? No, probably not. Just not my thing. A video of your Klipsch audio system? Yeah, I might do that. The problem with reviewing audio is the fact that there's really no way to I guess translate the experience I have with the audio with the speaker system to YouTube and to all of you. I can take like a mic like this and just stick it in front of one of the speakers and just say, hey, this sounds really good, take my word for it. But that's kind of what I would focus on in a review like that. The problem is it just wouldn't translate well. And I could talk about other things too with the system, but I mean that's stuff that you can just read up on paper. That's kind of the reason why I've shied away from reviewing speakers, especially the speaker system out there, which I really do enjoy. I mean, it's a really great system, and it's a really small system too, which is awesome. It packs a lot of punch in really small speakers. There's huge neodymium magnets, but that's the reason why I've shied away from it for now, just because it's hard to unless you're there in person, you're really not going to get the right experience. Let's see. Best SSD for the money. I usually look at ADATA. ADATA's got some good SSDs. PNY does as well. Samsung Evo. The Samsung Evos are always more expensive. You get higher data transfer rates, but I tend to just overlook that. I don't really think that's worth an extra $20 to $30 for a 5 or 6 second differential in loading times. Let's see. Yeah, audio. Yeah, I know. I really am. I'm an audiophile. I really am. Thoughts of the 1080 Ti? Haven't looked at it. I haven't done my research on the 1080 Ti. I saw a couple videos where they were like, "Oh, look, speculation. Here's this and that. You know, it looks good." And then it turned out to be that a lot of the rumors were just rumors. They weren't actually backed up by any real data. So, let's see. Would you upgrade an R9 295X2? I use it for triple 1080. No, I wouldn't upgrade. I mean, unless you got problems with power consumption or the card's starting to whack out. That's a great card. You can use that for another 4 years and probably not even not even feel convicted. Let's see. What about a 6600K overclocker, 6700K for streaming and gaming? I already have videos on that, so go back 4 or 5 videos. I got videos covering the differences in CPU core counts and then hyper-threading on or off, how that affects gaming. Now for video editing, if you plan on doing a lot of video editing, go for a 4-core 8-thread processor. You'll see a huge difference there. You won't see very much of a difference at all with hyper-threading in gaming. It's just not going to happen. Let's see, can you make a $600 PC build? So check out that i3 build that I put together a week or 2 ago with Destin. You can just cut out some of the stuff that's unnecessary. That's why I call it an overkill build. So take out the X61, replace that $130 case with a $50 case. Just compromises like that. Don't buy a Z170 motherboard if you're not interested in base clock overclocking. Go for an H170 or something, something lower than that, a business grade motherboard. But yeah, you can just pick apart that build and make compromises there. For $600, you can actually squeeze in an i5 too. So if you're willing to pay a little more for the CPU and make a few other compromises, maybe in your graphics card, then I say go for the i5. Just depends on what you want to do. Do you recommend an FX processor now that it's dropping? No, I don't. From this point on, I'm not recommending FX processor from AMD. Just if you're a full-fledged AMD person, wait. Don't buy an FX processor, because in 6 months' time or whenever Zen finally decides to be released, you're gonna regret your decision to go with that. And I'm pretty sure you're not going to be able to just pop a Zen processor in a 990FX motherboard. So just don't waste your money on that platform. Wait until Zen is released if you're just a diehard AMD fan. Yeah, again, some people don't care for AMD. Some people don't care for Intel. They think they're a bunch of money hoarding pigs, whatever. It's just what people think. Yeah, FX equals heat. Okay, let's see. I'm probably gonna, I have an iCore, it's not that bad for editing. I wouldn't really try to edit on an i5 6500. Your clock speed's really gonna hold you back there unless you're base clock overclocking. I've edited on a 6600K before. Yeah, it's actually doable. It's not bad. And if that means saving $100 and putting that towards a better graphics card, which at this point, if you're at a 1070 right now, $100 isn't going to make the jump from a 1070 to 1080. It's about $200. So I don't really know. Maybe you could reinvest that money somewhere else. But you can edit with a 6600K. But unless you're overclocking the 6500, I wouldn't opt for that. Are you going to customize your YouTube channel URL? I don't know. I already have it as youtube.com/c/science studio. If that's what you're talking about, that's what I've done. Let's see. I'll answer one more question here. Is AMD APU good for gaming? No, don't game on an APU. Just don't make that you guys in the comments can help him out. APUs are no-goes in my book, especially if you want to game in anything decent. So I only have 2 or 3 more tabs here. I don't even know what this next tab is. What is this? Oh, okay. This is something a little different. So this right here is, I can't zoom in on this picture, but I can zoom in on it, which is pointless because you can't see what's in it when you zoom in here. I guess you can look at the quality of the case. That's really about it. But so something like, so if you plan on working on PCs on a regular basis or a semi-regular basis, you want to have a good toolkit. You want to have something that's designed specifically for small spaces that would, I guess, increase your workflow. So something like this, look at this, $23. That's dirt cheap. Tools are generally expensive. I recommend buying a good toolkit. It's always good to have a nice toolkit, maybe a plus size toolkit for working on larger things, lawnmowers, cars, things of that sort. And then a smaller toolkit for more, I guess, meticulous jobs like working on a computer, something along those lines. And this right here is something that I would buy if I didn't already have something like this. So this right here for $23 is a really good deal. Even if they're not, I mean, they got a ton of good reviews. So 1,000 people reviewed this product, and it's got 4.5 out of 5 stars. So I'm fairly certain that just from the reviews, I can say this is a decent toolkit for the price. You are going to get kind of what you pay for. If you spend $100, you're going to get better materials, I guess a wider array of materials. But for $23, this is a really good toolkit. 45 pieces. It actually, I don't know. I might just buy this just to give somebody, just to give away or something. It's actually a really nice toolkit. So I just saw that. I was scrolling through Amazon. I said, yeah, that a lot of my viewers are into computers, obviously. And if you like working on your computer a lot, have something like this to help you out. Is it worth buying a refurb computer on Newegg? I'm not a fan of buying full-on computers that are pre-built. It's just not my cup of tea. If you can find a really cheap one, like an old Xeon workstation, something along those lines, yeah, I guess you can buy one of those and play around with it. But I just say build a brand new one from scratch. That's kind of where I stand there. Now, another thing that a lot of you have been asking about is the kind of lighting that I use in my PCs. So Walter right now is using it's a RGB LED strip. It's actually 2 strips that you can purchase from Cable Mod. I'll have, once this video finishes being live and published, I'll have links to a lot of these parts in the description. So you'll see what I use from Cable Mod. It's a really good kit, Asus, Aura, all that good stuff. which my motherboard doesn't support, unfortunately. but the control is great. Comes with a remote like this. It looks, it's very small and does what it's supposed to do. Now, what I used to use when I first started lighting up my PCs, because that was like the coolest thing, I used fans with LEDs built into them at first. That was all I used. And then just because I figured when I first started building, I was like, I don't know how complicated these LEDs are if I'm gonna have to be splicing wires and routing things into weird places and doing all that stuff. I just wasn't comfortable with it at the time. Now that I use it practically 24/7 in all my builds, I realized that it's not really that complicated to set up. This is what I originally used. This was one of the first one of the first LED kits that I used, and I thought this was like normal, but this is a totally different. This gives you a totally different look in your PC than what I thought that it was going to give. So instead of having the lights every inch or so on an LED strip, this is kind of more of a spread out thing, and you can actually see where the LEDs are, just where they light things up in the case. Then there's a gap where it's darker, and then there's another bright spot in the case, and that would work its way all the way around. And I was just never, when I first bought this, I was kind of underwhelmed because I saw other people's computers and like, how are they lighting up the whole thing? Why is there no gap in, why are there shadows there and not there on mine, but theirs is just lit up perfectly all the way around. This is what I originally started out with. I don't recommend this, to be honest with you. It's just a cheap LED kit. Something that I would recommend that I have used before, actually I used a cheaper version of this, is the Deepcool RGB 350 kit. So this one comes with 2 LED strips. I think that's the bare minimum. Yeah, I see. Yeah, I hate being able to tell where the LEDs are. That's exactly what that NZXT kit did. NZXT makes much better LED kits than that. That's their baseline. So they make the Hue Plus is something I'm sure most of you have heard of. Fairly expensive, but it looks much better than the cheap kit did. And now this gives you the impression that you're using something similar to an NZXT Hue. So these LED strips here that you're looking at, those 2 on the bottom right, those will give you that basically uniform lighting effect in your case. And you want 2 of them. You don't want 1 of them, because one of them, if you just put it on top, is going to make the whole bottom part of your case, especially under your graphics card, look very dark. So I recommend 2. And then what I did with Walter White was I took both of them and I started them at the edges on the bottom corners of the case right above the basement, and I layered them all the way up and then let them meet roughly in the middle up top. So you're lighting up underneath your case thanks to the LEDs on the sides, and basically all the way around the top, so the whole top is lit up as well. And that'll give you that uniform lighting effect that most people expect when they purchase RGB LED kits. And this one right here for $17, you can also get 3-day shipping with Premiere for free if you have Premiere. Again, this is kind of like Amazon Prime for me. So all of my PC parts, for the most part, come from Amazon or Newegg. And if you're purchasing parts on, like I said, a weekly or bi-weekly basis like I am, having Premiere and having Prime, really, they honestly will pay off within the first month or so. So yeah, this is what I recommend. Now it's certified by Aura from ASUS, so this is a good kit. I do recommend this kit. I've used, I think, 3 or 4 of these kits, at least one similar to this from Deepcool. And they give you everything you need. It's just plug and play. Nothing else you need to do there. And your remote's already calibrated, ready to go. Click on pink, it's going to turn pink. Click on white, it's going to turn white. All the goodies already in the box. All right, so I'll answer a few more questions, and I'm going to call it a day. I didn't want to stay very long here. It's already been 30 minutes. But I wanted to run through a couple of things online that I just come across every now and then, and I say, well, that's actually a really good price on that item there. I'd like to share that with everyone, and I do share those things typically on Twitter. But if you're not following me on Twitter, you don't use Twitter, I don't blame you. I mean, it's not for everyone. Then videos like this I don't know, it's probably not gonna be on a weekly basis, but every now and then I'll upload a video where I'll do this live and just kind of scroll through some items that I've seen for cheap that some of you might be interested in. Are LED kits more than $30 to $50 worth it? I don't personally think so. There's not much more with LEDs than lighting up your case. Now, like something like the NZXT Hue will do like the rainbow, the rainbow wheel thing where it'll change colors all the way around your case and do all these fancy things. I'm not about that. I doubt most people are. It's just too ostentatious for me. I like very subtle lighting. It pops, but it's not like screaming at you, look at me. It's not changing colors and doing all that weird stuff. So like I said, white for Walter White is great. Even if I turned it to pink or blue, it's not working. Oh, it's backwards. Even if I turn it to pink or yellow or red, all of that is just it's a complete change in a color scheme, but it's not in your face popping at you. And that's what I like about roughly $20 to $30 LED kits. I wouldn't spend any more than $30 in my personal opinion, if you ask me. $30 is kind of my peak. Pre-build a PC part picker. Build your own PC, dude. That's kind of what's up, man. Let's see. Have you played Bad Rats? No, never played that game. I don't even know what that is. Sapphire Nitro. Why do people ask questions? I'm kind of asking myself that too. It seems like a lot of you are asking questions that are pretty obvious. And I understand if you're new here, then yeah, probably people in the comments will help you out. But some of you, I recognize a few of your names, and I've replied to a lot of you in the comments, so I recognize a few of you. You've been around for a while. You know what's up. Let's see, i5 or i7. I have videos on that. Check the last week's videos on the channel between the i5 and i7. I will literally break it down for you why you should purchase an i7 over an i5 and why you should purchase an i5 over an i7 from different perspectives. Check all those videos out. They're all up last week on the channel. It's not that bad. Let's see. What's your next video about? Okay, so my next video, I just scrolled down again, dang it. There we go. So my next video is going to be on i3 overclocking. So the base clock method is still around. It's still possible. I'll explain all of that in the video. But basically, I overclocked that i3 overkill build that you saw last week that Destin and I built. And I run through the process of how to do it, and I basically verify the fact that it does still work. And I have other computers that are still base clock overclocked that are still running on the newest Windows 10 updates. They're all great. So that's kind of where where the next video will be centered. And then I think after that I'm going to do a video on the iPhone SE and the Apple Watch, just to kind of keep up with the whole Apple thing going on. Let's see, MSI GTX 1063GB 219 with rebate. I don't recommend. I wouldn't purchase the 1060 with 3 gigs of VRAM. I think 3 gigs you're going to be cutting it close in pretty much any game. You can play in 1080p fairly maxed out. You'll maybe push 2.5 gigs of VRAM, but anything higher than that, especially if you plan on using 2 of them, 3 gigs is not going to be enough. I just say 6 gigs just to be safe. You don't want to ever have in the back of your mind that feeling like, oh, I might not have enough VRAM. Even though 3 for a 1060 is probably plenty, I just say go with 6. I wouldn't make the compromise on 3 gigs. Let's see. Is it hard to build a PC like a beginner? No. I have plenty of PC builds. There are plenty of other tech tubers who have PC builds. I recommend almost all of those videos too. You don't have to just watch mine. You don't even have to watch mine. The PC building is very simple. It honestly looks complicated, but it's not complex at all. It's very simple. Let's see. Cheap gaming keyboard. Already have a video on one of those from Aki. Check that out on the channel. Best ultra-wide monitor. I say the one I'm using. Maybe not best in terms of performance, but I think the best value is the one I'm using right now, or one similar to this. So I think this is the 29UM57. I think they have the 58 out now. They also have a B55. Those are all 29-inch LG ultra-wides you can pick up for about $200 to $300. I think that's a really good deal for a 1080p ultra-wide. The Pixio is a really great monitor too. I haven't done reviews on either of these monitors yet, just because it's kind of the same thing in terms of picture quality as it was with audio quality for the speaker system. So using a camera to film the screen of a monitor is just kind of not doing the monitor justice. And a lot of the bigger tech tubers who have really nice cameras can get away with that. You don't see any of those weird ripple effects on the screen or anything. But I'm just using an FZ1000, it's a $1,000 camera. It's not anything special. And I think that if I just tried to, it's just really hard, I guess, to convey how good a screen looks in person over a video. It's tough. And that's kind of why I've shied away from doing like very specific monitor reviews on the channel, because of that, for one. Let's see, what CPU for editing? Watch my last week's videos. Yes, what CPU for editing? Watch all my videos from last week. That'll answer your question for you. Let's see, 960M laptop. Greg, should I get a small M.2? Don't buy M.2. To me is not worth it. It's just not worth it. M.2, you're gonna get faster. You might see a slightly faster boot time and programs will load quicker, but SSD is the way to go. You just get the best value in an SSD. Let's see. Let's see. What happens to Walter White? What happens to Walter White when Zen comes? I'm sure Walter White's going to stay with Intel. I'll build a totally separate system for Zen. I'll probably build just a test bench for Zen. So I'll build it into a nice case, whatever Zen CPU I purchase first, and then probably around the $300, $400 CPU range. So upper mid tier I expect for Zen. And then I'll build it and put it into a nice case like Walter White, make it look really good. And then I'll probably disassemble it and just put it on a test bench, which I need to purchase, by the way. I don't have a test bench yet. But I'll just put it on a test bench, and then I'll just be experimenting with it for the next week or two just to give you guys a good, I guess, three-dimensional perspective of Zen. Let's see. I'll answer two more questions. I don't want to keep you guys too much longer. I took too long in the question and answer thing last time. Will you do a video on the Cryorig H7? I absolutely will. I have the Cryorig H7 and the C7 back there. The C7 is supposed to go in Zach's rig. That's the ITX, the i5 ITX PC build in the Node 202 that I uploaded a few days ago. That's where the C7 is going to go, so I'll do a video of that and show the thermal change there. And then the H7, I might just throw that into Walter White just to show the difference between a 240 millimeter all-in-one and an H7. So $35 versus almost $100 US, just the difference there. There's not much of a difference in terms of overclocking potential, just going to say that up front. Let's see, are you going to make a water cooling video? I don't really know what you mean by that, but I've already built plenty of PCs that are water cooled. Is the 980 good for 1080p ultra wide? Yeah, it's plenty good. If you can find it for cheap enough price, purchase the 980. But in most cases, going with either a 1060 or 1070 is going to be your better bet. When will Entertainment Studio be a thing? I have no idea. Let's end on that one. Entertainment Studio is just it's kind of in its weird, awkward maturation stage right now. So Jacob is really trying to pick up his audio game and his recording game. I think he's going to try to buy a capture card and a few other things. And then he's going to move over to console and do a few things on console too. I know a lot of you are going to be like, yeah, about it, but it's going to open us up to a wider audience and not just PC gaming. And then I'm trying to get him to purchase other games other than just Black Ops 3, because that's not the only game I play, but it's the only game he owns as far as I know of. So I know you guys are just kind of sick and tired of watching Black Ops 3 being played over and over. So we're going to work on, I guess, broadening our horizons there, and trying to promote the channel more, because right now it's not a source of income. It's not something that I've been trying to promote hardcore in every video or anything like that, but it's just for people who just want to watch just Jacob and I play, just kind of play around. I know a lot of you like McLovin. I wanted to keep him around in some way, and I figured Entertainment Studio was a good way to do that. So that's kind of why we have it in existence, and I really hope that someday it does take off and become a staple gaming channel. Right now, it's definitely not in that realm, but eventually, I think it will be if we keep working at it, and eventually, when Jacob and I are around each other more when I get out of college, hopefully, then we'll be able to take it to the next level. But for now, it's just kind of in its awkward stage. For those of you already watching it, supporting the channel, thank you. I appreciate that, and I'm sure Jacob does too. But we'll be sculpting that as we go. We'll be changing a lot of things, trying out new games, all kinds of different stuff. So just stick around for that. I'm not gonna hold you guys any longer. Thanks everyone for watching, for being in the chat. I'm gonna go ahead and swap now. So the last 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, no more comments. Okay, sorry about that. All right, guys, this is Science Studio. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching the live session, and stay tuned. I think tonight I'm gonna have, tonight here in the U.S., I'm gonna have the i3 overclocking video guide up on the channel. Check that out, especially if you own an i3 or an i5 non-case CPU and you're interested in purchasing something like a Z170 motherboard. You'll be able to overclock 99% of the time those non-case CPUs if you purchase a Z170 motherboard. So that's what we'll talk about in the next video. Thanks for sticking around on this one. I hope you guys have a good hunting weekend. If you're looking at tech, check out some of the stuff we reviewed in this video. I guess I'll say it again because it's kind of awkward. I talk too much in between the ending. This is Science Studio. Thanks for learning with us. Now I gotta click the stop button again. There we go. I'm gonna get better at this. I will.